everyone. Welcome to GMIHub Online. I'm Cheryl Dewick, your host, and today we're going to be talking about music law and AI. Before I introduce our guest today, I'd like to say, first of all, if you are a first-time viewer of GMIHub Online, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to know more about what GMIHub is all about, please visit gmihub.ca, and from there you will actually see our vision, our activities, all the efforts we are doing to help educate, empower, and equip and give opportunities for music artists and people within the music scene to be more effective in sharing their music and the impact that that music has. If you want to follow us on social media, we are available on Facebook, on Instagram, on what was used to be TikTok, now X.com. We also have a WhatsApp channel where we connect with music artists. We'd love for you to join us on that. We are here on YouTube, and we'd love for you to click the like button and hit subscribe so that you are one of the first people to learn when we are going to be broadcasting a great conversation. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest, which is Paul Sanders. Paul Sanderson is an entertainment lawyer right here in Canada, right here in Ontario. He's been in the business for over 40 years, and he has advised music producers, artists, and other entities within the music industry on the legal aspects of what they need to do to stay integral and to stay in line with the legal system. So without further ado, I introduce to you Paul Sanderson.
But the lighting and the makeup people are on strike today, so
you're looking good. It's okay. The lights shining.
Yeah. About as pale as I can in the sun.
Our main audience is the artists. They're emerging, up and coming. Some of them, very few are seasoned. There may be one or two that are seasoned, but even if they're seasoned, they will learn from what we're going to be talking about, because seasoned to me is people who have been in the music scene for more than 10 years in my mind, right? And they may know how things have ran 10 years ago and still running that way, but with AI coming in and making all the changes, it seems as though everyone's on the same learning level at this point in time. Because yes, AI is there. They may have figured out what to do with AI, but they don't know the legal ramifications. Not everybody knows the legal ramifications. They may have heard just a few things. Like, I think the basic is, if it's written by AI, it's not yours. That's pretty much
pretty much. I hear you. Yeah, and that's a good premise for sure.
Yeah, and that's probably it. But then I think, again, in our conversation, I think there's more that can be shared that would pique their awareness, like, oh, I didn't know that, especially from the producer side. I don't think producers know the legal ramifications of the use of AI. Like, how does it affect them compared to, say, a songwriter, right? From us, it was like, well, from a songwriter's perspective, if you're taking words and a tune from somebody else or from AI, which is really extracting from everybody else, it may sound original because it's a conglomeration of stuff. But if an artist tries to take that conglomeration and say, oh, well, it's mine, and they find out it's AI, that's an issue, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So things like understanding if AI is being used, do they, when they register their song, do they have to indicate this is AI and how much of it is AI? Or do they have to, I don't know. Like, I guess these are the questions that I hope we're going to be answering.
Sure.
What are the legal ramifications, and how can we make sure that we're on the up and up? How can we make sure that we're not violating any rights?
Now, am I correct in assuming that these are mainly gospel musicians? Or not? Or is there a wide range?
It's a wide range of musicians, but mostly gospel. As in, it may be different styles of music. It may come in the rock form, in a rap form, maybe in the gospel choir form. It can be in I don't know, country form or something. Like it could be various styles of
Sure,
music,
sure.
but the
A-
artist's general message is the gospel message. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's a good thing to share. Two things I want to share too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wrote an article which is on my website, um,
Mm-hmm.
and they're for free. Welcome to go to that, because that I did a lot of research, because over the years I've been a sponsor of and a speaker at many of the Sing Toronto A Cappella Festival
Oh,
events, and ever since they
cool.
started, they're into their 14th year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an article on my website. It's called AI Implications So Far, a Canadian Perspective. Now,
Mm-hmm.
even then, I put a caveat that was only up to date as of May of this year. And have there been
Right.
developments since then? Yes. Oh, yeah. And there will
Mm-hmm.
continue to be, because it's just such a large topic
Yeah.
that's affecting society wide, and particularly, of course, music. Um, and secondly, I want to make it clear as well that I know a lot, and I work with a lot of creatives, and being a
Yeah.
creative myself,
Mm-hmm.
I went to law school to actually do that. Arts and
Mm-hmm.
entertainment. That's all I've ever done and wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if I wasn't doing that, I probably wouldn't do law at all.
Mm.
That was my mandate.
Right.
So I'm well aware that people often can't afford to hire a lawyer in private practice,
Mm-hmm.
even though they may need
Right.
to. But
Right.
many years ago, and you may be recall this, that back in 1986,
Mm-hmm.
I had helped co-found Artist Legal Advice Services,
Mm-hmm.
and I still sit on the board of Artists and Lawyers for the Advancement of Creativity, which has been going, I guess, this coming year, 40 years operating, let
Mm-hmm.
alone the 2 years before that to do the research and groundwork to set it up. But your audience should be aware, and I feel really good about this, and I'm proud of this. We're in
Mm-hmm.
a profession. As a profession, you should give back, and
Mm-hmm.
you can, as an artist of any discipline, all artists of all
Mm-hmm.
disciplines can go to Artist Legal Advice Services, go to the website www.alasontario.ca, and book an appointment for free, pro bono,
Mm-hmm.
pro bono,
Mm-hmm.
with
Nice.
qualified arts and entertainment lawyers. They have to have a minimum of 2 years experience in the field,
Mm-hmm.
the lawyers that do the duty counsel
Yeah.
work. And
Mm-hmm.
no one in this province should ever think that they don't have access to proper legal advice in the field that they're chosen to be in, especially when they're
Yeah.
presented with something to sign in writing. So, and yeah, we've served thousands and thousands of artists over the almost 40 years in existence. And yeah, it's only summer advice, and I don't want to belittle that, because summer advice is sometimes all you really need to be pointed in the
Mm-hmm.
right direction.
Yeah.
But it is free, and triple
Alas.
W
Yeah.
ALAS
Mm-hmm.
Ontario, all
Dot.
one word, lowercase, dot
Oh.
ca.
Oh, Ontario.
Yeah, so if
Ontario.
you go on there, you'll see me and the other 10 lawyers that are on the board that provide the service.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts. Yeah, there you go. There's all sorts of valuable articles there. I wrote one that is not so much relevant to what we're talking about today. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Creating, CREATING. It's an acronym for when you go into licensing agreements, a checklist on what you should look for in those agreements. And it was
Mm.
vetted. I wrote it, and it was vetted by three other lawyers on the board who are experts in film, video, and book publishing, and they're my co directors. So there's a lot of valuable material there. There's a lot of valuable material on my website too. I pretty much post a new article every week.
Okay.
And there's at least two on AI. The one that I did for the Sing seminar back in May,
Mm-hmm.
um, and another one that I did subsequent to that, and it's called AI and Canadian Copyright: The Future of Musical Intellectual Property in Canada. That's a more, what can I say, not as heavily researched. Um,
Okay.
the the one I wrote, AI legal implications so far, is an overview of international law with a focus on Canadian law with footnotes and
Mm-hmm.
cases. It's still very well written, and I'd actually like to share those things because I think there's an incredible
Absolutely.
amount of misinformation.
Yes.
I actually have a real issue, quite frankly,
Mm-hmm.
with the whole concept of calling it artificial intelligence.
Mm. That's
I don't believe it
interesting.
is. It's not
You don't feel
intelligent.
oh oh okay.
Humans
It's
are
artificial
intelligent.
though.
It's
Right.
machine learning.
Yes.
Like there's a tendency for big tech
Mm-hmm.
to humanize what is not human. So it's
Yes.
not
I hear what you're saying.
intelligent. That's a
Mm-hmm.
misnomer. The
Yes.
fancy word for that is it's called an anthropomorphism, where
Mm-hmm.
we like to put human traits to non-human. It doesn't matter
Entities.
whether it's a machine or an animal, like a pet. You treat them
Mm-hmm.
like a human. They're not. We don't know what they
Right.
think. So
Right.
um, we have native intelligence, NI, not
Yes.
AI.
Yeah.
But it's the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
native intelligence that created the so-called AI.
Yes.
But AI isn't intelligent at all. It's simply a
Right.
mathematical set of logarithms that predicts the next numerical sequence. That's it.
Yes.
Nothing
Yes.
more.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I would say, it doesn't innovate. AI is
Right.
not an innovator. It's a copycat. It's
Mm-hmm.
so-called trained, or more accurately,
Yes.
data scraped
Mm-hmm.
on existing works, what they call the
Yes.
LLM. And that has nothing to do
Mm-hmm.
with the masters of law. It has everything to do
Yeah.
with the large language model learning. So they're
Right.
scraping data and
Mm-hmm.
putting it into a logarithm, which is really just a series of numbers, and making predictions. Very good
Right.
predictions,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
It's all
not
mathematical,
innovation.
logical.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not trained. So that, I mean, I'd like to, seriously, I like to
Yes.
banish those
Yes.
types of words, but we can't,
Yeah.
because the big tech is dominating the agenda,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pushing it
Yeah.
ahead,
Yeah.
and that makes it sound, much more palatable. Yeah, very human. No, it's not.
Mm.
And once again, you're only as good as a machine as what you're trained on. So if you're trained on garbage,
Yeah.
it's called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So a lot of AI
Yeah.
is just wrong. If it's trained on
Yeah.
bad data, you will
Mm-hmm.
get bad. It's no different than a website research. We were talking about that earlier. If you punch in
Yeah.
um, the wrong word, the wrong spelling, like lose my number or loose my number, you won't get what you're looking
Yes.
for. Well, it's the
Right.
same thing with AI, right? So,
Yes.
or so-called AI, as I would like to call it. Um,
Yes.
the thing is, what we're seeing here, what's really important, I think, in terms of the AI front, and it's been equated, I think, again wrongly, with the seismic shift that we had in the music industry with Napster. I
Mm-hmm.
can kind of understand that, because that was a game changer. But this is more than
Right.
a game changer.
Yes.
Why? Here's the difference. Napster took existing copyright works and copied them. That's not
Yeah.
what AI is doing.
Mm.
It's so-called training itself, or data scraping, so that it can create new works based on this LL model, Chat GTP
Mm.
being the leading one.
Right.
That's a whole other matter altogether. The
Wow.
Napster didn't recreate new works. It simply took existing works and copyright infringed them.
So in other
That's
words,
different.
AI is like, would
No,
you say that
it's
AI is not? Go ahead.
it's a whole other beast. It
Okay.
creates, doesn't innovate, but it does create based on
Mm-hmm.
um, these the data and the logarithms that are there, and at lightning speed.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, and I forget the exact number, but I mean, you can spit out on AI like 10 songs a second or something, and then if you do the math on that, that's it's just it's insane. Like who could even who could even begin to digest that, let alone if you wanted to?
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're getting the the creative community is being challenged to um, compete with something that if you feed 3 or 4 words into the AI program you're using, and they'll spit out
Right.
3 different versions of a song in
Mm.
you know instantaneously. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty that's pretty that's pretty game changing.
And
Um,
we have seen that. Yeah. We've
oh,
seen that where
absolutely. In fact, I was
it,
just reading
it
just this week in the Billboard
yeah.
Bulletin, which I read every day.
Yeah.
Um, we're a bidding war to sign an AI artist. I'm going, what?
I saw
It's the
that.
truth. Millions of
Yeah.
dollars to sign basically someone who's a poet in the southern
Mm-hmm.
states,
Mm-hmm.
who works under a pseudonym and has created an AI um, persona that's gotten millions and millions of streams. Well, some record companies care, some don't, and
Right.
if it sells, we're good. Knock yourself
The
out.
bottom
It's
line.
not
Yeah.
illegal to sign an AI artist, but it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty challenging. And think about it with the speed, like look at a tune like famous discussion between Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen. They met
Mm-hmm.
in a Paris cafe, and by that time, Bob Dylan had been covering long before other people discovered the song "Hallelujah," which is one of Leonard Cohen's
Mm-hmm.
masterpieces.
Was
Bob Dylan says, "I really like the song. How long did it take you to write it?" And Leonard says, "Well, about 6 years." That wouldn't happen with AI. I guess you could
no.
take 6 years, but you're not going to because that's the nature of it. So AI is
Mm-hmm.
here,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and we're gonna have to live with it. No two ways about it. And again,
That's
with
true.
change, there's always good and always bad. It's never one or
That's
the
true.
other. It just
Mm-hmm.
isn't. That's what life's
Yeah.
about. So you work with it. I think in the best case scenario, it will enable creatives to maybe even do better work. Uh, and certainly quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to think that the NI part of it should be in control, and
Yes.
the human element should not be lost. And we run the risk of, look, do you want to work for a machine or do you want the machines to work for you? It's as simple as
That's
that. It's
true.
a simple choice. Not so simple
Mm-hmm.
in practice,
Right.
but that's really what's being faced here. So yeah, it is a seismic shift, not just
Yes.
in the music industry, though. The music industry is so portable and so easily accessible and worldwide, global.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of talk about it there, but it's affecting society completely. And I mean, you would have been aware of this. Entry level jobs are going to be disappearing because AI will take over. They're having AI
Mm-hmm.
DJs. They're having AI interviewers for initial jobs. Right? We
Wow.
don't need
Mm-hmm.
a real person to interview you now. We'll use AI and let AI screen you out to maybe get to the next interview or not,
Mm-hmm.
make the decision.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the reality we're in. And it's only Technology grows exponentially.
Hmm.
So it will continue to get faster and faster. So AI is just the latest technological shift. What's next? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a Silicon Valley technician, programmer.
True.
I'm
Hmm.
simply a lawyer that is observing and trying to work with what we have and
Hmm.
figure out where we're at and where we're
Right.
going. And right now, we're still in very early stages. As I was mentioning, I've given a lot of thought. In fact, just to do that article alone, I've read dozens and dozens of legal articles that you wouldn't want to read yourself and trying to digest them into something that I could say, well, what makes sense here? Where are we going?
Hmm.
Um, and yes, there's, as always, when there's change, I call it the 3L approach.
Okay.
Slowest of that is legislation. Do we have any
Hmm.
legislation in here in Canada to deal with it? Absolutely not. We
Hmm.
had something before the last election. And by the way, this would be federal legislation primarily because it
Okay.
would affect things like the Copyright Act, which is a federal statute that it applies nationally throughout Canada. Um, that fell on the order paper and the election came and it died, right? So maybe that's a good
Hmm.
thing. Canada tends to be in the world not an innovative leader in terms of the legalities, but a
Hmm.
follower. But the good news about that is we watch what other countries do and we learn from that, and hopefully we get a better solution because
Right.
there will be mistakes made as you go.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to get legislation through because we're in a democratic country and it has to
Hmm.
go through houses of parliament in Ottawa with a
Right.
majority. Doesn't have to be a
Yes.
majority government, but it has to be a majority that votes it in. So
Hmm.
that's why we've seen over the years even changes to the Copyright Act. The last major amendments took from 1995 to 2012. Yeah,
Wow.
to get in.
Wow.
Why? Because we had two minority governments, then finally got one majority that was able to put the Copyright Modernization Act in place, and that's now over, well, since 2012 now. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is a very real reality. So that legislation, number one, not going to see that anytime soon. Other countries have already gone there. The European Union, which is a united
Hmm.
uh, uh, economy between, say,
Yeah.
France and Italy and other member states, Germany as well,
Yeah. Hmm.
important territory. They've actually got legislation in place. The U.S. so far is saying we don't need any legislation, and we think the existing statutes that we have, including the Copyright Act, are fine to deal with it.
Hmm.
Um, so legislation, then lawsuits. That's the third L.
Hmm. Hmm.
There are dozens and dozens of lawsuits right now. None of them are
Hmm.
definitive yet in the states alone,
Hmm.
and probably a handful here in Canada. As you can tell, we don't tend to be quite as litigious, and of course, in the U.S., there's always a lot more money at stake. So,
Yeah.
and the damage awards for civil litigations are a lot higher than in Canada. But not to say that Canadian case law isn't important. It is. It will work its way through the courts too. And thirdly, the most practical one is licensing.
Hmm.
And there have actually been some suggestions on how to deal with that. You can always do licensing through private contract.
Yeah.
And some people have opted to do that to, say, for example, monetize their voice. If you're a voiceover artist that makes money,
Hmm.
obviously doing things like commercials, jingles, film,
Hmm.
TV work,
Yeah.
especially in animation, uh,
Hmm.
you can license your voice out to be used
Yeah.
through AI if you so choose.
Hmm.
The only country that I know of right now is that's actually encouraged that um, is Japan. And Yeah, and just yeah, there it is. In Japan, for example, Japan Academic Association of Copyright Clearance and Rights Direct, that's the name of the government agency, announced the availability of AI reuse rights for digital copyright licensing for companies with headquarters or an office in Japan. The intent is to comply with copyright laws, avoid costly litigation, ensure that the use of AI does not create legal and business risks. So, the
Right.
countries, what I'm being seeing worldwide is that everyone's scrambling. They know it's here to stay, and they have to figure out what the proper balancing is on
Hmm.
the legalities. They want to encourage it, quite frankly. In fact, so
Yes.
far, the lawsuits have been looking at whether or not in the US it's fair use to take this data and train the AI models on it um, or not. And
Mm.
it's too early to tell, but so far the courts seem to be leaning towards, yeah, it's okay. It's not a copy necessarily. And your brain goes, well, how is it not a copy? Because it's just a series of numbers that now makes a new work from new data.
Mm.
It's not
Yeah.
actually taking the Mona Lisa and copying it. It can do
Hmm.
something in the style of that, but it doesn't actually copy it. And by the way, the Mona Lisa has long since been in the public domain, so you're free to
Yeah.
copy
Hmm.
it because it's not copyright protected. But you can see how that style could be easily done with AI in seconds.
Yeah.
Done. Give me
Yeah.
something like the Mona Lisa. Bang, there it is.
Hmm.
So, um, or in music, give me something like the Beatles. Well, easy. Bang.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's not the Beatles. And so
Hmm.
far, it's still a pale reflection of the original, but it just keeps getting better because it keeps learning
Yes.
over and over
Let
with the
let's
data.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing is that AI does not just affect copyright. That's kind of one other aspect. The other key thing is for the creative community, um, the personality rights you have in your personal attributes, which includes your voice. As you can see, a voice can be extremely valuable,
Hmm.
especially if you're like a John Lennon or a Whitney Houston. You can sell records with your voice. That's a proven
Wow.
thing, right? Et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera. I mean, everyone has their own unique voice, which is part of your personality. Your name, your likeness, your biographical attributes. These are exclusive rights to you to the right to exclusively commercialize or exploit them. They're yours.
Hmm.
Someone can't
Yes.
take that from you. So there already been some not litigation, well, litigation too, but I'm thinking legislation in the states where they call it the Elvis Act in Tennessee, where you can't take someone's voice and just copy it. Well, we already have personality rights protection here, but generally they're not statutory. So it's really unclear what the limit is on that. But of course,
Yeah.
AI affects that too. Um, so there's two main areas that uh, creatives, I'll use that broadly,
Hmm.
artists, musicians, whoever, um,
Hmm.
can use to exploit and make money from their creative works. Um, and what I like to say on this is, the sky isn't falling. We're changing,
Hmm.
yes, of course, but copyright's not going to go away, despite, believe it or not, big tech saying, well, we don't need copyright. Well, maybe if you're Elon Musk, you don't need it. Most other people do. And the whole software industry, which we all use every day in the modern world,
Hmm.
come on, we do, is
Hmm.
copyright protected. Believe it or not, computer
Yeah.
programs are literary works under the Copyright
Yeah.
Act. So what are
So
you saying you don't need copyright? I don't understand. If you don't have copyright, you're going to be falling back solely on contracts only.
right,
Do you really want to go back to the days of Mozart and Beethoven when they had no copyright? I'm just giving that as an
mm,
example.
right,
We didn't really get the Copyright Act in historically till the Statute of Anne in England in 1710, which then spread through the world, right? Of the idea
right,
that the author would actually own their copyright to their works. That
right,
was a groundbreaking legislative development back then, and it's only developed ever since then.
yeah,
So if you don't have copyright, then you're going to be falling back on contracts alone.
hmm,
I don't think that's progressive, and I don't think that's the way the world really wants to go. And I'll say again, you have these exclusive rights to exploit your personality rights,
hmm,
and they're guaranteed in law. Now, the difficulty is enforcing these. That's really what it's
right,
about, right? How do you enforce these rights when your work is already out there for for the training, if you will, or the data scraping?
right,
Um, you have to fall back on some of the more conventional ways that you protect your work. I mean, if you really don't want it out there, then don't put it out. But that's a shame because it's part of what I see, and I'm in the same boat. I mean, I call it the four C's of creativity,
hmm,
like letter C.
yes,
You want to you conceive something,
hmm,
that's the first C, then you create it, but the cycle's not complete until you communicate it, that's the third C, and
hmm,
fourthly, it's consumed.
yes,
So yeah, the first two, you can sit that in a drawer. Maybe that's enough for you. Maybe that's satisfying, but
hmm,
for most artists, it's not. They want to disseminate their work and share it with the world, broad as audience as they possibly can. That's just
hmm,
human nature, I think,
hmm,
as far as I've seen. So
yes,
that's problematic. So yeah, you can put in a private viewing, you can encrypt it so no one can get to it, but
hmm,
that's not going to get you with the communication and consumption.
right,
Um, Always recommend you put the copyright notice on. It doesn't cost anything to do that, and it is a deterrent. So just stop there. The C within a circle,
hmm,
um, copyright in full, or C within a circle. Usually C within a circle is more common. The name of the copyright owner, in this case, whoever created the work, typically,
hmm,
unless it's under a contract that you've assigned your rights to a record company or a publisher. And then the year of publication, not the year of creation, but the year of publication. But arguably, the moment you put it on the web, it's published.
hmm,
Why? Because it's
yeah,
available to the public.
hmm,
So always put that on. It doesn't cost you a dime. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. Under our system of copyright, we have there are no mandatory requirements. So part of things you're asking about, copyright, if you created an original work, it's acquired automatically. You don't need to
hmm,
register it. You don't need to put the copyright notice on it. Nothing.
hmm,
Now,
okay,
why would you? That goes back to the issue that I was talking about. How do you protect your work? How do you know it exists? Um, well, you start building what in law is considered evidence. So, putting the copyright notice on your work is showing that you're claiming copyright in it. Now, it doesn't
hmm,
prove that it's original. It doesn't prove that you even created it, but it does prove that you are claiming those rights, and then you would have to prove it. If you want to go that extra level of protection, you then register your work in Canada with CIPO, Canadian Intellectual Property Office, the database, and in the U.S. with the Library of Congress, U.S. Copyright Office.
hmm,
And why did I mention that? Because they're different systems, and if you want protection um, in each of these geographic territories, US, Canada, you need to register in each for that extra protection. In Canada,
Okay.
you get marginal extra rights. If you've got a certificate of registration, it gives what's called a first expression, or if you like the legal side, Latin, prima facie evidence that you are the owner. There's a presumption. So if you ever are in court, you can take that certificate, which is a 11 by 14 sealed document, put it into court and says, okay, you're the copyright owner. You're presumed to be the copyright. If you're not, and someone can say, yeah, but that was an improper registration, it can be overturned. But it's still a very powerful way to do that. So it gives a presumption of ownership, and in certain cases, it's a defense against what they call, not to get too technical, secondary infringement,
Mm-hmm.
which someone can't claim, hey, I didn't know you had copyright. If it was registered, you're deemed to have had no notice. So that defense would be completely negated. States is even more important to register. Why? Because if you don't register in the states, and again, you don't have to. Why? Because ever since 1989, with the Berne Convention Implementation Act, which Canada is subject to the Berne Convention, and the U.S. became part of that in '89, you don't need to register. Before that, believe it or not, in the States, if you did not register your copyright, you could lose it.
Oh,
It would
wow.
fall into the public domain and anyone could use it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have to do that, but there's some good reasons why, and here's why. In the States, if you don't register, you can't claim what are called statutory damages. Statutory damages up to $150,000 US per infringement. So think back to the not so long ago with the Napster file sharing cases where the students had, or House Was at Home, for example, had downloaded 1,000 downloads onto their computer. Do the math on it. 1,000 times 150,000 is an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of dollars. If you haven't registered, you can't claim those. Now, they don't always give the full amount, and our damages in Canada are much lower, under $5,000 for a non-commercial infringement, up to 20,000 Canadian. Remember, there's a big
Mm-hmm.
difference in the exchange rate for
Yes.
commercial infringement, but still, that can rack up real quickly. 1,000 times 20,000 is still a lot of money. So, in the U.S., you can't claim statutory damages. You can't claim your lawyer's fees if you're ever in court. So that could be tens of thousands of dollars if you ever went that route. And heaven forbid you don't have to, because it's very expensive on many different fronts, not the least of which financially. And you can't bring an action for copyright infringement if you haven't registered it. Not so here. No, no, in Canada. So now you can see there's a difference in the copyright regimes in Canada, the U.S. that differ. Let's go back to the
Yes.
concept I was talking about earlier. Is AI training and use fair use? That's a U.S. concept. Or in Canada, fair dealing, and those get mismatched all the time, wrongly. They're very similar, but they're not identical. Canada has a fairness test for fair dealing. You have to
Mm-hmm.
fit within one of about half a dozen key sub areas. And then you have to make a six-prong legal test to figure out whether it was fair. Again, the cases haven't come through the courts yet to determine whether it is or it isn't. So far, the courts have been tending towards allowing AI to do what it does. Not generally if it's on pirated material. If they legally acquired it, that's another matter. And so far, that's where the courts have been differing. And you may have read about some of the large damage claims because Meta, in particular, for example, i.e., Mark Zuckerberg and owned by Facebook, or the parent company of Facebook, indiscriminately took from whatever sources they wanted to, included pirated material. So they
Mm.
got their knuckles wrapped over that. But so in the U.S., fair dealing is a four-prong test, and it's set out right in the statute. Now, our fair dealing has to be for either private study, research, news reporting, parody, satire, or educational. So if you fit within one of those six prongs, you then look at whether the use is fair, and then look at these other six prong legal tests that came out of a Supreme Court of Canada decision,
Mm-hmm.
and includes things like, could you have gotten the material elsewhere? How much did you take? Does it affect the original in the marketplace? So all these are being worked through now in the context of current AI um, legal developments. And again, there's nothing definitive yet. There's no legislation other than the EU, um, which I think is heartening. In the EU, there are some pretty serious penalties. And number two, the public is to be um, notified that AI has been used. So you're not just consuming something thinking that it's a real human or NI as opposed to AI. And so we'll see where that plays out. Right now, England, for example, is scrambling to, and there's been a lot of politicking and lobbying. Um, England doesn't want to be left behind. They want to embrace AI as quickly as they can because our global economies are going to be affected. And if you're shutting AI out and other countries are using it and encouraging it, then the economic shift is going to be felt very dramatically. But just a few months ago, some of the English musicians, well-known ones, put out an album. I think it was a vinyl record with nothing on it,
Mm.
and they went,
Wow.
"See, this is what's going to happen with AI because we'll have no incentive to create. You're going to get silence." And yeah,
Wow.
it's always been this balancing act, especially under the Copyright Act, between consumers' rights to access copyright material, hence fair dealing, and uh, creatives' rights or copyright owners' rights, because more broadly, because copyright owners aren't always creatives. You are when you create it, and if you're not, but if you're a publisher or a record label, for example, you've acquired copyright in the sound recording and the music publishing, respectively. So you are an owner, and
Mm.
you want to protect your rights too. You may not have created it, but you acquired copyright, usually through what's called an assignment of copyright. So there we are. It's a very interesting world, fast-paced, moving area, really critical for society and particularly the music industry and the creatives. Everything, book publishing, films, artwork, music, everything. Everything's being
Mm.
affected by this. How could it not when some, an algorithm can so quickly create something that competes with you in the marketplace? And as I was mentioning earlier, when we spoke yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
they're estimating by about end of 2026, half of what could be on these services could be AI produced.
Wow.
Whoa, okay. As if it wasn't hard enough already to make a living in the arts, you're now
Mm-hmm.
competing with machine learned product, which some people may not care. They may not.
Nice.
And I think it will be harder and harder to detect. Right now, it's still somewhat obvious, especially if you have a trained ear, that it's not human. But as it continues to learn and get better doing this, it'll be harder and harder to discern. And I still think there's a percentage of the public, not to be judgmental at all, that doesn't care. And if they like it, they like it. So I don't care. It's AI.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Paul Sanderson, for joining us. It was so wonderful to have you share all of this information to help us understand a little bit more about how AI is affecting us and how we can be kind of ahead in the legal system, what we need to do to stay integral and to stay on the positive side of the legal side regarding AI and the music scene. And I want to thank you, viewers who are watching. If you stuck through this conversation, you would have heard so much information. I would suggest to you, if you would like to, you can always go back and revisit this episode, or you could go visit Paul Sanderson's website, which is sandersonlaw.ca. And there you will find out more about Paul Sanderson and his team, as well as you would find some articles that he has written. He writes articles on a regular basis just to keep everyone abreast of what's new in the legal scene with regards to arts and entertainment, and also to help us navigate the legal side of our arts and entertainment as well. He also has a wonderful nonprofit service that he offers, which is called ALAS. It's alasontario.ca, and ALAS stands for Artist Legal Advice Services. He has a series of, or a team of 10 lawyers that offer legal advice on a pro bono basis. What that simply means is this: as an artist or a producer, you have the opportunity to go to alasontario.ca to get legal advice about any situation that you're concerned about at no charge to you. This is a service that I know Paul is proud to provide, and we want you to take advantage of it. So again, that is alasontario.ca, as well as sandersonlaw.ca. Those are the two references. We'll put those in the description as well. Again, I want to thank you for being a part of this episode. We hope that we will see you next time on GMI Hub Online.